All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dig into a really important report from the OCO Institute for Greenpeace. It pulls back the curtain on something we almost never talk about when it comes to artificial intelligence. Its massive and honestly kind of shocking environmental footprint.
Think about it. We use AI for pretty much everything now. Writing emails, making art, getting answers to weird questions at 3 a.m. We're constantly asking it questions. But what about the question AI is forcing us to ask? You know, the one about the real price of all this incredible new technology?
Because, it's easy to think of it as just magic happening in the cloud. But it's not. Every single time you type a prompt, you're not talking to a cloud, you're connecting to this. Rows and rows of powerful, hot, energy-guzzling servers. This is the real, physical, industrial engine of AI.
Okay, so let's peel back the layers here. To really get a grip on the environmental cost, you first got to understand the mind-boggling scale of the hardware that makes AI tick.
Yeah, AI isn't some spirit in the sky. It has a physical home. And that home is inside these massive, factory-sized buildings. And this whole AI boom, well, it's causing a construction frenzy, putting up these hyperscale data centers at a scale we've just never seen before. And man, are they hungry for resources.
So what exactly do we mean by hyperscale? It sounds like jargon, but the report breaks it down. We're talking about a single facility that can suck down over 100 megawatts of power. To put that into perspective, that's enough to light up a small city. And they can cover up to 4 square kilometers. These aren't just buildings, they're industrial giants.
And here's the stat that just kind of makes your jaw drop: the speed of this growth. The report projects that by 2030, and that's just a few years away, the global electricity demand just for AI computing is going to be 11 times higher than it was in 2023. 11 times in just 7 years. That is absolutely explosive.
And this explosion is totally changing the game for the entire data industry. Look at this. Back in 2023, AI hardware was using about 14% of all data center electricity. But look ahead to 2030. That number is projected to leap to almost half, 47%. AI is on a path to gobble up nearly half the power going into all data centers across the globe.
So you can see where this is going, right? This gigantic infrastructure, well, it comes with a gigantic environmental price tag. Let's really get into the numbers the report lays out. We've already seen how the AI demand is shooting through the roof, but that pulls everything else up with it. The report is projecting that the total electricity demand for all data centers is set to nearly triple by 2030. And listen, it is not just about electricity. All those computer chips get incredibly hot. They need constant cooling, and that means water. A lot of water. So much so that water consumption is also projected to more than triple in that same period.
Okay, let's try to wrap our heads around that water number. By 2030, the report estimates data centers will be drinking up 664 times billion liters of water every single year. That is an almost unfathomable amount. And what's really concerning is that a lot of these data centers are popping up in places that are already struggling with water shortages.
And that's such a crucial point to understand. While we're talking about a global problem, the pain is felt locally. These huge facilities put a ton of pressure on local power grids and water supplies. This isn't some abstract issue. It has real, tangible consequences for the communities where these things are built.
And this isn't some far-off future problem. It is happening right now. In 2023, data centers were already eating up more than 20% of all the electricity in the entire country of Ireland. In Virginia, in the US, it was over a quarter. But get this, in Dublin, the capital of Ireland, data centers consumed a whopping 79% of the city's electricity, almost 4/5. That's just wild.
And believe it or not, the story doesn't end there. The report points to a whole bunch of other hidden costs. We're talking about a potential 5 million tons of extra e-waste by 2030, a massive spike in CO2 emissions, a huge demand for rare metals and raw materials to build all this stuff. And here's a weird twist. Some tech companies are now looking at nuclear power to meet their clean energy needs, which, opens up a whole other can of worms.
So, okay, the picture the report paints is pretty intense. It's a massive problem, and it's getting bigger fast. But, and this is important, it doesn't just leave us hanging there. The whole second half of this analysis is all about, okay, what do we do about it?
So let's get into the path forward. The OCO Institute lays out a really clear framework and some concrete policy ideas to try and steer this AI ship towards a more sustainable harbor.
At the heart of it is this 5-point framework. And honestly, when you look at it, it's just plain common sense. First, justify the impact. Is using AI for this really worth the environmental cost? Second, keep it simple. If a basic bit of code can do the job, don't use a giant AI model. Third, use just enough. Go for the leanest, most efficient model that actually gets the job done. Fourth, maximize efficiency everywhere. Software, hardware, you name it. And finally, number 5, demand transparency. Companies need to come clean about their real environmental footprint.
And to make all that happen, the report says we need some real policy muscle. We're talking about things like forcing companies to report their energy and water use, introducing efficiency labels, like the ones you see on your fridge, but for data centers and AI services, making sure new data centers are built to run on renewables and actually use all their waste heat to warm up local homes, and finally, updating our laws, like the EU AI Act, to recognize that AI has environmental risks, not just social ones.
And this all brings us to a really crucial final point, summed up perfectly in this quote from the UN Secretary General. The incredible, world-changing power of AI, and with it, the immense responsibility for its impact on our planet. Right now, that all sits in the hands of just a few giant corporations. So the question this report really leaves us wrestling with is this: how do we, as a society, make sure they live up to that responsibility?